'Cause it was there. We're art sluts.
Welcome back to Art Sluts Radio. I took a little break because I was lucky enough to score an interview with my next guest, Ann Magnuson. I've done my best to share a retrospective of her extensive body of work. In short, Ann Magnuson is the fairy godmother of the underground art scene of the 80s and 90s. Her career floats effortlessly between theater, music, film, TV, and performance art. Depending on who you ask, she is known for her seminal album, The Power of Pussy, in Bongwater, the love interest of David Bowie in the film The Hunger, the co-creator of the groundbreaking film Vandemonium, creator of a universe of hilarious female characters in made-for-TV, or one of the stars of the 90s TV series Anything But Love. And this is just a sample of what she's done. Here's part one of my interview with Ann Magnuson. So Ann, I did a deep dive into your career, and it's color-coded timeline is what I created just so I could keep track of movies, theater, TV, and music.
Incredible. You've done what I'm not capable of doing.
What it made me think was if the moving back and forth between projects is kind of like a creative cleanser, or is it just representative of sort of being living performance art?
I think it's both of them. It's definitely both of them.
Yeah.
And also, it's just a compulsion, I suppose. But, one rides the waves of opportunities.
True.
And whatever fate hands you, you deal with it. And I guess I like to mix things up,
Absolutely.
Have variety and excitement.
So do you find that at certain times the flow is working and you just kind of go, and then other times you have to kind of work harder at it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, The thing about a lot of that mainstream work, that's where the bills get paid.
Sure.
TV shows and some other things, and movies. Now, not so much anymore. There's no middle class left.
Right.
It's what's happened to the country.
Yes.
There's an oligarchy. And this started in the 80s or in the 90s, but became really evident in the 2000s, where the A-listers were taking all the money out of the budget. So there wasn't a lot for anybody else.
And it's difficult for artists, especially, I would imagine. I mean, you're definitely cutting-edge artist, which I want to get into a little bit more about you.
On occasion, which I actually prefer
Sure.
a lot of the time, but I also like to pay my bills. And I had family members who were depending on me.
Yeah.
Which made a lot of the mainstream work necessary.
Of course. I went back and I've had so much fun watching a lot of the early things that you did and realizing how much you contributed to your community. And it reminded me of myself and other people who in that time period, the very beginning, that you kind of have to do everything yourself and you...
Oh, yeah.
And you don't really think anybody's watching you, you know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, I didn't think anybody was paying attention to any of it. But that's where you get an incredible amount of freedom.
Absolutely.
And particularly Bongwater, I didn't think anyone would be listening to any of that. So when it became kind of a cult thing in college radio, it was nice, but it was shocking. And when we started doing live performances, I couldn't believe how many people were showing up. And I remember at the time saying, this proves there's an audience for everything.
Absolutely. I think names are really important too. Like Art Sluts, that was our kind of window of getting people to pay attention. You stumbled upon, and then you had, Bongwater and The Power of Pussy. It's like...
But all of that stuff was just done because I thought it was funny. I didn't do it to get attention. In fact... Honestly, when I started getting more attention, I tend to fade away a little bit when there's too much attention. It's kind of like there's that meme of Homer Simpson disappearing into the hedge.
Right.
That's sort of, because it's not terribly, it can be very unpleasant. It can be very unpleasant. So I think, you know what? Maybe not so much of this anymore. Let me go out to the desert, or let me go to West Virginia, or let me do something else that is not going to be scrutinized with a particular set of standards that aren't my set of standards. A lot of the acting world, and even anything performance-wise, once you have kind of the New York Times paying attention to you, or people like that, you're getting into a whole other realm, which I think for women, and particularly back then, is beauty pageant adjacent, if not beauty pageant full out. And then you start getting judged for things that you don't give a shit about.
Right.
I loved John Lurie had a really funny quote when he was being interviewed by somebody years ago about getting into films, and he did that vis-a-vis Jim Jarmusch movies, but John did his own short films too.
Right.
But he said he wasn't even interested in going on these auditions or being called in for different projects, and he said you end up getting rejected by people you didn't give a shit about to begin with, or you didn't like to begin with.
Bongwater was a band Ann Magnuson co-founded with Mark Kramer of Shimmy Disc fame. The combination of Kramer's production chops and Ann's wildly creative, funny, and shocking stories created a sensation in college radio that brought Bongwater onto the big stage. Bongwater truly was unlike anything before or after. Here is the title track to their 1990 hit album, The Power of Pussy.
That's why he can do so many amazing things. Many people believe almost any darn thing they're told, especially if it sounds like something they already believe.
And there was a very, very clear dividing line, at least in the early days, in New York in the early 70s, the late 70s, when I got there.
Right.
But certainly in the early 70s, but the late 70s and the early 80s, where the uptown world, and you could call them mainstream or straight world or whatever, they weren't paying any attention, really.
No.
So you had absolute total freedom. Now, there was a coterie of kind of gatekeepers in that world that gave one an opportunity to rebel against and piss off if you wanted to. So you can't really escape that because it's part of human nature, and there's a lot of juggling for weird power positions, even though there's no power. People will find power in the most unlikely places to find a way to dominate somebody else, even in the punk rock, maybe particularly in the punk rock world, who knows, but I mean, one could go on and on about that. But the point was, there was definitely a culture that was counter to the one that was in on the 3 television channels and the magazine world, and it wasn't shiny and pretty, and you didn't have to look like a model, or you didn't have to have a lot of money, or you didn't have to claw your way through some kind of juggernaut to play in the game. The downtown world was so much. It was built on a DIY mentality from... Yeah,
Club 57.
Well, Club 57 was really on the shoulders of the hippies and the beatniks, and then, you know, I was a big fan of Alfred Jarry when I discovered him in college, and the avant-garde theater, and I was interested in things that were decidedly not mainstream. So that was what I was interested in and loved. I loved it.
It looks like you launched Klaus Nomi's first performance, from what I can tell.
Well, that wasn't really me. That was Klaus really launched himself. You really have to give him credit for him. He was doing all that. He just wasn't. The New Wave Vaudeville gave him an opportunity to kind of launch himself as a solo artist, and as a solo artist, just to show a bigger audience that he could sing opera.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
And dressed in this like alien new wave outfit, and he created this new persona. But he had that persona, and he would have gotten attention in some other way. There were a lot of clubs, and there were a lot of venues and theater spaces that people were going in and out of. Fiorucci, he had performed at Fiorucci, which was a store that Joey Arias was the manager of, and him and Joey had a lot to do with really helping Klaus craft his persona.
Club 57 was home base for Ann Magnuson in New York City in the late 70s, early 80s as a manager, director, and performer. Club 57 attracted groundbreaking artists like Keith Haring, The Cramps, RuPaul, Cyndi Lauper, and the B-52s. Klaus Nomi launched his astonishing sound and persona. Let's take a listen from the 2004 documentary, The Klaus Nomi Song.
Everybody else in the New Wave Vaudeville show was charming, inept, funny. They were all kind of like in this community where they were palling around together, doing this sort of like punk version of Mickey Rooney. We're going to do a goofy show.
Oh, I feel a little pogo coming on now. And it feels really, really good.
Stuff that you could slap yourself on the back and say you're kind of hip because we're doing this outsider theater. And then Klaus came on, and it was a whole different level of accomplishment to me. It wasn't silly. It could be perceived as silly because of the way he looked as this kind of gnomish creature, but he was so convincing and his voice was so beautiful. And I do remember, David McDermott, after the first performance, every performance he had to come out and say, this is not an electrical recording. He's actually singing, because people didn't believe it was him.
Jamais voler
what I used to do is I would be backstage directing and stage managing and peeking out of the curtains to see how the audience was reacting to certain acts. And then when Klaus went on, I would leave the stage and go around to the back of the theater, go up the stairs to the balcony to look down and see Klaus perform and watch the audience. It was always so exciting because all these young rock and rollers who were pretty cynical would just become like statues, just stunned. Even, it's going to sound a little sentimental, but I remember crying. It was just such a great moment of theater to see the audience being so stunned and astonished. And that was always, I think, the pinnacle of success, is to leave people absolutely speechless.
And the vaudeville show was just a place where people could show off their wares. It was another place.
Was it similar to like the Groundlings?
No.
Okay.
It was basically a high school talent show.
But much better talent.
Well, some was, and some of it was just frankly absurd. So, which is what we all wanted, and that was a group of us that was a collaborative thing. It wouldn't be like the Groundlings. It was more of a one-off, and then a group of us went from there to do events at Club 57, and where I became a manager, and then kind of did my best to corral as many people that I thought had unique talents to do a whole variety of things. My vision for it was like a giant television set, and every day was a different channel. Or it was our version of Andy Warhol's Factory, or our version of Disneyland,
right.
Or our version. So that there were all these things we grew up with, and we had a common language and vocabulary and references. And we all loved punk rock, but we also loved, earlier things, Bowie, and then TV shows like Laugh-In, political theater.
Well, it seemed like, at least in my experience and different artists that I've talked to, is that early time period, because we were just kind of all outsiders, there was this great cross-section of the gay community, artists, punk rockers, theater. It was just like all one thing.
Yes, because everybody was attracted to this visceral experience of rock and roll, but also having to be less policed. There's a lot more freedom, and things could be wacky. I mean, the Titus Andronicus production was we had to know our lines, although not everybody did, and that was an interesting experience. But they finally learned the lines. But it was the whole scene was like a circus, and we were all had run away to be with the circus, and we were all connected. It didn't matter if you were gay or straight or whatever you were. It didn't matter. We weren't even. I knew a lot of gay guys didn't want to be labeled as anything, or they were bisexual or whatever they were. Nobody wanted a label, because a label was a form of dictatorship,
right? And
we didn't want it from anybody. So there was a window of time where that seemed to be a bit of a free-for-all, but it didn't mean that people weren't committed to doing their artwork, whatever form that might take, and being disciplined about their technique in how they create it.
Ann Magnuson's chameleon-like ability to move seamlessly between characters, which started on stage with Made for TV, continues to this day in her live and recorded performances. Here's a clip from the video Made for TV.
Good morning, and welcome to the morning show. We just got a super show planned for you this morning, so just settle back, relax, pour yourself another cup of coffee, and join us, why don't you? We got some great topics to talk about. We're going to be discussing how to deal with the death in the family, and the growing number of holiday highway fatalities, and how to pack for a weekend. So, okay, let's go for it. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. America, this is your... to like get to that like that inner like naked sexuality, and that's what we're all about. If you can't get into that, that's your problem. No, shut up. We've got stories, and we've got songs, and we have special guests from the neighborhood.
With this new sports car. The Datsun 280ZX Turbo with 5-speed transmission, T-top, tinted glass, power windows, power brakes, cruise control, air conditioning, and all the other standard equipment, plus these options.
A good cup of coffee. And then he found a unicorn. Then he found a unicorn, and then he found a unicorn, and then he found a unicorn. Freshness. The unicorn. Praise the Lord, we are back on the air, people, and it's so good to be here and preaching the word of the gospel to you. It's what it's all about. You know, before I went on my gospel crusade tour, fiber.
Today's story comes to us from Mrs. Dan Walsh, a wife and homemaker from Battle Creek, Michigan.
Well, I finally got a job down in West Hollywood in one of those drive-in restaurants. I was aptly fitted with the shortest pair of hot pants a car hop could possibly wear. Well, I had a nice derriere, and I wanted to attract a few producers or directors. I mean, I had always believed that if I had only had the opportunity, I could really act. Well, that's what most of us girls are doing half the time anyway, is acting. A rich coffee bean. Yeah, sure, but I didn't have that kind of money to throw away on acting lessons, you know? He said not to worry, that there'd be other ways that I could pay. But we do what we can in this ministry, but we just doesn't seem to be enough sometimes. You know, we have so many bills that pile up, and little Tammy Sue, I just haven't been able to buy her a new dress for school yet. Because we have to attend to this and attend to that. We have our missionaries, of course, in those far-off lands like Africa and India and France. And we need your seed pledge. Your seed pledge, which will grow. Remember, the more you give, the more you will get back. So please, we're talking a telethon here. We're talking about $1,000 a month. That's very little. Just sign a check. Make it out for cash. Send it to Tammy Jan Ministries, P.O. Box 666, Charlotte, North Carolina, and you'll be a better person for it. Believe me. People, I wouldn't tell you this if I didn't feel it from the bottom of my heart. I mean, how am I gonna pay my dry cleaning bills?
I encourage you to go to YouTube right now and see Made for TV. It's incredible. Well, when the artists that are the audience and also on stage, you know, rotating, the inspiration it's constant.
Yes,
you know.
yes. Those pyramid years, it's kind of, for me, started a lot at Club 57, booking every night as something different, and that got to be too exhausting to be the manager and an occasional performer and everything else, and the bartender and the person who cleaned the toilets and the whole bit.
Were you the hostess of the scene, do you think?
No, there were many hostesses and hosts.
Right.
Everybody, there was a rotating cast of people who hosted various events.
I guess the
I
reason...
sure love doing it. I love
Sure.
doing it. I took to it. And
Like, I guess what I was kind of getting to is that you gave a stage to so many people that, in a way, do you feel like that was part of your role as well as being an artist, which you're a great artist, but why did that become so important in that time period?
I wasn't thinking in terms of any of that. I was just I liked people. I organized the neighborhood kids when I was a kid too. I might have some kind of border collie in me because I love to, it's probably Capricorn. I like to
make things happen.
Make things happen, can be a bit bossy. My husband will tell you that. But make things happen, but be part of a group, be part of a community, be part of a cast.
Ann's first band, Pulsalama, sprung from the Ladies' Auxiliary of the Lower East Side. Take a listen to their song, The Devil Lives in My Husband's Body, from 1982.
Pulsalama was difficult. It was fun at the beginning, and then some people, oh yeah, oh God. And that's another thing I'm not going to get into details about.
Well, it's another element to working in all female. It's a completely different vibe too.
Yes. It was, well, also I'd been in plays and you know, growing up doing all that theater, you do the work, you have fun, and then there's the closing, and then that's it. And then you move on to the next thing. The problem with some of these bands is that if you become even a little bit successful, Pulsalama got a write-up in a zine saying we're the greatest band ever. And it was really fun, but for me it was more of a theatrical event that I created with Danny Johnson and Andy Weiland and some of the Club 57 girls. And then the thing got a little bigger and more, once there got to be a record deal, you're getting into real trouble there because people invest.
Right.
They invest a lot of dreams into this and get a bit ahead of themselves, I think, with how important what you're doing is. And then there can be a lot of
well,
with Pulse
levels.
Alama, it became very stressful. Like, why am I doing that? I don't need stress. Why am I doing this? I have 500 different things I could do that are fun. So when it stops being fun, and I think bands tend to stop being fun pretty early on in the game, and then they become a business, and there becomes all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then you recreating some family dynamic that you started a band to get away from or something. Right.
Ann Magnuson performed a cover of Roky Erikson's song, You Don't Love Me Yet, with Bongwater and special guest Fred Snyder of B-52s and Fred Frith in 1990 on Night Music.
If I could just get backstage and we can get to know the real me, then I know you'd take me to his castle in England, and then we could ride white horses on the misty moors. And as I was saying, I want to go backstage and get to know the real me, and we could go to his castle in England and ride white horses on the misty moors. And you gotta let me backstage. I'm his biggest fan. Lightning strikes anymore, but I can't make it rain because it would only lightning again. Lightning never strikes anymore,
I mean, I don't see how there could be any other interpretation.
That was fun, and it's the end of part 1 of my interview with Ann Magnuson. Part 2 coming up soon.
Thanks for listening to Art Sluts Radio.
Hey, if you identify with the Art Sluts, explore our herstory at artsluts.net. That's ARTSLUTS.net. And purchase downloads of our music wherever you stream music.
All contributions and purchases will go to support Planned Parenthood.
Currently, 21 states have limited access to women's health care, including abortion, and 15 of those have a total ban.
Talking about your abortion experience, voting, and donating to support abortion rights will make a difference.